Hi, my name's Alexa, and welcome to my capstone presentation. My project is about Broadway costume design. For the capstone project, we had to make a main inquiry question. A main inquiry question is the question that you mostly focus on. My main inquiry question is, what are the steps to designing a costume for a Broadway show? There are multiple steps. Those include research, talking to staff, the sketch, consulting the sketch, the sample costume, fittings, moving the costumes to the theater, tech rehearsal, and the show. The first step is research. Some ways costume designers research includes looking for things for inspiration and looking at photos and paintings that the show takes place in. The costume designer will go into broad research, trying to establish each character's personalities through the costume. The costume designer will also have a fabric and color sense for each costume. They will let the fabrics lead them into what they want the costume to become. When doing a Broadway show, they always read the script first to get a sense of what the show is. Then the costume designer will talk to the director in terms of the theme of the show, and what message they want the audience to get from it. The costume designer might also talk to the choreographer to ask if any actors will be doing any flips or jumps, or if they will need any specific dance shoes. After, the costume designer will draw a quick rough sketch. Sometimes this sketch is done on a computer. After each sketch is done, the costume designer will show them to the director. They will talk about what needs to be improved and if there needs to be any changes. The costume designer consults with the director so they can make the costumes as much comfortable as they can for the actors. The costume designer usually has a big book called the Bible. It is called the Bible because they put all the information inside of each costume inside of it. They usually have 15 through 20 of them. Some information they put inside it includes the fabrics they use, the buttons if they use them, the sketch, and more. After the costume designer will meet with the person creating the costume. They will talk about how the costumes are being made, what fabrics are being used, and if there are any special considerations. For example, if there is a really big skirt, what's going underneath it? Will they be moving in it, and will they be dancing in it, and more. Afterwards, the person creating the costume will make a sample costume out of a cheap fabric called muslin. There are 3 fittings. In the first fitting, each actor will try on the sample costume. In the second, each actor will try on the actual costume. And in the third, the costume designer will mostly focus on the shoes and accessories. The final sketch is the sketch that the director and costume designer has decided to create. The final colored sketch is usually colored with watercolors or acrylic paints. Once each final sketch gets approved, the costumes will get made. They will get moved to the theater. They'll usually get moved into a big room where all the costumes are kept, or they get moved to one of the actors' dressing rooms because they have a quick change in the middle of the show. A couple weeks before the show, there is a rehearsal called tech. Tech rehearsal is where all the actors wear the costumes and the costume staff gets to see how it works on stage. Sometimes the costume staff will realize that the lights in a scene are really bright and the colors of the costume need to be toned down a little. They will tone the colors of the costume by repainting them or dyeing them. After those costumes get fixed, they will test them out one more time, and then from there comes the show. Overall, I think the process to designing a costume for a Broadway show is very complicated and frustrating, but also very creative at the same time. For more information, go to my blog at blogs@scarsdaleschools.org/agalante26.